Hi everybody, Joy here. So today I want to talk about something that's pretty controversial, Twitter. So in April of 2018 I actually made 2 videos outlining my criticisms of social media just in general of those platforms, and I will put links in the description below for those. They are pretty ranty, but I still stand by what I said mostly. So today's video I'm going to focus just on Twitter though. Now I still think that it is in fact a waste of time and energy, okay? It's a platform that's full of fools and narcissists. But why Twitter in particular? Why do I want to look at that, and why is it such a breeding ground for toxic behaviour? Well, with all social media, there is a sense of removal. People we see on social media are, not people that we see on a regular basis, face to face. You may follow a couple of friends or family members that you know in real life online as well, on Twitter, but generally speaking, the majority of people that you will follow are people that you don't know, haven't met in real life. So it's easier to get away with saying things online without real world consequences that you probably wouldn't ordinarily say to somebody who you do see on that face-to-face basis. There's also a sense of immediate convenience. Now, technological advancements are being designed all the time to try and make our lives easier, faster, more efficient, and I think that people just don't appreciate the impact their words can have when it's so quick and easy to post things online that barely required any thought behind them at all. It's contrasted quite easily with the meme of you wouldn't use a carrier pigeon the same way that you would use Twitter, like just to write #you suck on a carrier pigeon. Like, people didn't do that because it was a lot of effort to go to use older methods of communication. Add to that the widespread availability of all this modern day technology and easy access to social media platforms. Literally anyone with no formal background in any sort of subject can weigh in on a conversation. And there is zero criteria as a means of a barrier to entry. Now, I'm not in the abstract, that is a good thing because of freedom of expression. Everyone has that right and everyone should be allowed to do that. But the downside to that is, of course, that literally anyone can say anything regardless of how true or evidenced it is. We take the likes of J.K. Rowling or Alex Jones as examples there. So Twitter especially focuses on the written word, which suffers from minimal inflection, subtlety, nuance. And it's said that communication, and I pulled up the actual percentages here, is 55% how a person appears, 38% how they sound, and only 7% is what actual words are said. The link in the description for that source. So with looks and sounds removed, Twitter users have to rely on that 7%, and unlike a book or an article, tweets are very short by design. So with all that in account, it's very easy to misunderstand or misconstrue what someone has said on Twitter. While doing the research for this video, I found an article that was pretty helpful in explaining from a Twitter user's point of view why Twitter is so negative and toxic. It's called Why You Should Quit Twitter by Kostas Varmakis. Again, link in the description. And they outlined that it is because you are engaging in sharing of stupidity to disavow somebody else's like incorrect or ill-informed opinion, it doesn't actually stop the spread of the stupidity, that just contributes to it. And it encourages this really sort of toxic one-upmanship mentality. Also on social media, people blur the line between free speech and hate speech. And I fully intend to do a video on that in the near future. It's a really difficult script to write because there's a lot of aspects to that. Another thing about Twitter is that Amnesty International has reported and said, since the release of toxic Twitter in 2018, Amnesty International has continued to highlight the scale of abuse women face on Twitter, including Argentina, India, UK and USA. Meanwhile, women have continued to speak out about the abuse they experience on Twitter and the company's failure to adequately respond. The persistent abuse women face on the platform undermines their right to express themselves equally, freely and without fear. This abuse is highly intersectional, and women from ethnic or religious minorities, marginalised castes, lesbian, bisexual or transgender women, as well as non-binary individuals, and women with disabilities are disproportionately impacted by abuse on the platform. So we can see that this is actually a real, genuine problem. This isn't just a few small isolated incidents, it's a trend. So what prompted me to want to make this video a non-Twitter user investigating this topic? Well, the latest LeftTube Twitter scandal involves Ollie Thorne, the creator of PhilosophyTube. And the only way I know these things even happen is because other YouTubers that I follow talk about them. In this case, Jessie Gender, I'll link to her video, it's really good, go watch that. So her video outlines what happened really thoroughly, and the whole basis of the controversy was this tweet that I'm going to put up on the screen right now. And I would say watch the video to understand the circumstances surrounding not just the tweet, but also the reaction that it got, and then the backlash that that reaction got, and then the resulting conflict between the two sides. Because the problem here isn't that Ollie made a joke that was to some in poor taste, but the dogpiling that was facilitated by the platform. So for those of you that are not aware or not seeing the problem, the tweet infers that Trump is trans, and because people hate Trump and Trump is bad, therefore the inference is that trans is bad, even though that's not what was actually meant by the tweet. It was just having a dig at Trump because he's not very self-aware in that way, and it was a play on the word transition, which is funny, but people, like some people still took offence to it, and those feelings are valid. He hasn't taken down the tweet, which has upset some people, but honestly, I just think we, the audience, need to wait for his next video, which will probably tackle and explain everything head on, because that's generally what people do in times of controversy. Let's not forget last year the same thing happened to Natalie Wynn. A lot of non-binary people were upset by what she said and did, and again, that's fine. Those feelings are valid. It's okay to be upset. Your feelings are perfectly fine. But she wasn't intentionally being, you know, exclusionary to non-binary people. Ollie here is not intentionally excluding trans people, and the butt of the joke was not trans people, it was Trump. So it's important to understand what people's intentions are when they do these things and take that into account, and, you know, just understand where people are coming from, and because the result of not doing that is causing an ultimately meaningless internet flame war, and, you know, who really wants that? You don't want to be fighting with people who are allies when the real enemies are out there making trans exclusionary legislation and defunding trans health care. Unfortunately, now I have to engage in the thing that is particularly toxic about Twitter. I have to spread the stupidity in order to decry it. So, fair warning, apologies for that. Sorry. Bit unavoidable here, because this is the part that's led me to talking about soon-to-be ex-president Fart, who has abused his privileges on Twitter. He has used it to deny climate change, to personally patronize a teenager, to show off his non-existent attributes, to spread misinformation and blatant racism surrounding coronavirus, undercut the democratic process, accuse the media outlets of lying when the truth is inconvenient to him. He's threatened totalitarian use of military forces and sided against anti-fascists. And he's reintroduced the word covfefe into the English language. Okay, I'll let him off for that one. That was pretty funny, although it did nearly escalate into a nuclear war with North Korea. So, you can see in the, like, a couple of examples that I found. You know, you have Twitter's flimsy attempt to mitigate some of the damage by adding these disclaimers next to the tweets. And I do agree that people, even unhinged wannabe fascists, should be heard, because we need to know what's going on in the president's head, no matter how dangerous. I mean, especially if it's dangerous. But wouldn't it be nice if we could just have him kicked off entirely now, please? Don't you just wish that there was some way to get him to shut the fuck up? But sadly there isn't. But what you can do is remove yourself from that situation. It means that you won't be swept up or bombarded by swaths of online hate. I mean, if there's no Twitter presence, if you don't have a Twitter presence, then you can't accidentally say the wrong thing and get backlash for it, or be a part of that toxic cancelling backlash. Fuck it. Delete your Twitter. Boycott Twitter. Twitter is problematic. Twitter is #cancelled. Okay everyone, I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Non-binary is valid. God damn it. The latest leftist YouTube... fuck's sake. This article told me not to do... No, shit. Like, don't you just wish there was some way to shut that person? Oh, God. Don't you just wish that there was some person, so fucking hell. And he hasn't taken down the tweet. And fuck you, Siren. Fuck off. And he hasn't taken down the